Welcome back. We're glad that you're spending the time with us. We do sincerely appreciate it. We'll do our best to make it interesting for you. Andrew Fitzmaurice here from MorePeople as your host today, joined by Alex Worth from Worth.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. We'll go back and we'll start perhaps with some education stuff, mainly because you went to Newcastle University, as did I, albeit not at the same time. And we did very different things while we were there. So I can't claim to have the agri credentials that you have, but that's where you started, right?
Yes. So joined Newcastle University in Castle Leazes. So it's probably not changed since my parents were there.
Your dad was there as well, wasn't he?
As well. So in the same accommodation. Was, not like any new accommodation you go to these days, but a really good time. Joined, got straight into, found my clique, my group, all the agriculture students, Freshers Week, just very busy, things like that. So that was really good. Disappointing to have, COVID right in the middle of it. So, for studying an agriculture degree where you want to be in or out on the university farm, you want to be face-to-face lectures, things like that, doing that, online and things like that was difficult. Probably didn't get the full experience, but great time nonetheless.
Did you always know then that you were going to go down that path? I guess the family implies it might always been the decision, but did you always know you were going to do it?
I think from a young age, I always liked watching the harvesters roll in the fields. Liked if any of the farm guys were around and about, I'd always go and see what they were up to. I always had that interest. I think I got to a point when I was 16, 17, 18, I was playing, rugby at quite a serious level for my age. I was travelling to Leicester back and forth and, wasn't going to make it professional. Had to look in the mirror and go, you're not good enough. But you probably better get good A levels and go to university and, do the other thing that you love. So, I knew that at that point that I needed to go to Newcastle and I needed to get some good A levels and, have a good time from there, really.
And the nature of growing up around farming means that you work in it from quite an early age. So it wasn't as though your first job post-uni was the first job in the sector, was it?
No, it wasn't. So, times have moved on from where as soon as you can reach the pedals, you start driving. Times have moved on, health and safety, all that thing for the right reasons has moved on. So, I didn't actually get involved in the farm until I was 18. And I didn't actually work at home first off, to be honest. I went to a farm 5 miles down the road and worked on their onion and potato operation and kind of didn't want to be known as the boss's son, just wanted to be, getting stuck in with their lot.
I guess you'll benefit from seeing how things work elsewhere as well, won't you, to bring back ideas and new thinking into your business?
Yeah, and that was always the aim. You can always sit there and say, I don't want to come home till I'm 30. I don't want to come home till I've done X, Y, and Z. But, I'd done a couple of seasonal jobs elsewhere. I'd done some full-time jobs elsewhere. And I got to a point where it kind of worked for me and it worked for the business as well. We took on the factory side of Emmett Farming and we'd done that for a bit. And then the time was right to take the farming side of Emmett Farming on. And that was quite exciting. And it came at a point that, worked for me. And it was right, go and learn about spinach. You don't know anything about it, but you know about farming and, there's people in there that can help you and go and get stuck in. And that's kind of what I did.
So let's circle back and do some headline stuff then. So as far as the business at Worth, you mentioned Emmett's. Tell us a bit about the business for people who don't know.
So we're a 5th generation farming and fresh produce business. We grow all of our own products in the UK and in Italy and Spain. So we're growing spinach, leeks, kale, Cavolo Nero for the retailers. We've also got an arable operation. So we're farming kind of based around an 8-year potato rotation. Built around that, we're growing wheat, peas, sugar beet, maize.
And your role today is what?
I'm currently farm manager of the Worth Farms produce business. So responsible for spinach as a crop and then responsible for all the other crop growing operations.
Growers in general, farmers in general, aren't often thought about when consumers are going through the supermarket, putting leeks or spinach in their baskets. They don't always give enough weight and credibility and respect to how it actually got there in the first place. Growers are the unsung heroes, really, aren't they?
It's not really a job, it's a lifestyle. So, we don't do it for our paycheck at the end of the month. We do because we need that, but it is a lifestyle. Um, you know, we're all strict we're on our 60-hour working week, can't work longer than, because, you need a good work-life balance. But, there are times that we have to get stuck in, because this year been short of water and it's been really hot. I wouldn't say we're the unsung heroes, but, we do throw a lot of, blood, sweat and tears into it to make sure that, the product's right for the customer at the end of the day.
The weather challenges always exist in farming, but this year feels like it has been particularly challenging. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, talking to some of the older generation, 1976 is in the back of their minds.
Yeah,
as a similar dry period. So yeah, I would say it's been 1 in 10, 1 in 20 years. But we're seeing these weather events now, aren't we? We're seeing it stick to either one wet period or one dry period, and they last for longer. But we do a lot of work in our business about resilience, and we need options, and we've got to plan that out. That's what my job in the off season, working with our team, is this is what a normal year looks like, but what happens if, and let's have a plan for what happens if. And you might spend all that time working that plan out for what happens if, but you at least know what your next step is. With regarding to water and land and heat this year, we've been doing things at night. For instance, we've been spraying at night, we've been irrigating at night. Land we signed up to 12 months ago to rent, we've had to move to other places. We've had to sort that out. It's all coming at a cost.
Yeah.
But essentially the customer, being the supermarkets, and the final customer, we're used to food on the shelves 365 days of the year, and we've got to do that. It's our aim, and we've got to work out how to do it.
In terms of the climate change and what's likely to happen moving forwards, how much stuff can you do to mitigate these things? Is it about varietal development? Is it about drainage, or being more self-sufficient in water? Or are there some things that you just can't help?
It's quite a cliche saying, so I do apologise. Control your controllables. So I'm off to the Netherlands next week looking at seed varieties. I need to know what I'm doing with spinach seed for next year. Need to constantly be looking at what's out there, what's doing what. We're losing different varieties through to disease every year. So we need to be backfilling that. We need to be one ahead. So, we're looking at all of those kind of things. It comes at a financial cost, but you've got to just prioritize which one you're doing. What we're going to do now, and what do we want to be doing in 5 years' time. So, when it comes to drainage, we've got a plan that we're doing an X amount of hectares a year that we're going to drain. And that's part of our plan to reach our end goal of where we want to be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time. When it comes to water security, what are we doing on our own farm in regards to water security? Right, how many hectares can we grow sustainably in our rotation? What's the water requirement for that? What do we actually have now? Where would we like to be? All those kind of questions are a part of this kind of building a plan around the climate, really.
I guess when it comes to planning, you've got a harvest to plan for. You're talking about next season and which spinach seed variety you might want to go with. More medium-term plans around drainage and water security. Because it's a generational business, you also have to look, I'm guessing, quite a long way into the future as far as things like soil health are concerned as well.
Yeah, we do. And look, there's lots of different ways to do it. The word regenerative farming, I don't want to get on that topic because a lot of people know more than me. But we like to think we're doing the right thing. We're incorporating cover crops. We're having margins. We're part of all the schemes, that are out there. We won't do things if we don't need to. In regards to cultivations, can we scale it back? That's the kind of question. But essentially, we're growing high value crops, and Lincolnshire Spalding silts, whole wheat silts, they're prime for growing these high value crops. We need to be using the plough. We need to be doing some heavy cultivations. So we're not going to be following that regenerative kind of path for those crops. But then, what can we do when we're growing wheat? Can we reduce our passes, things like that? What can we do, in the winter period when we've got bare land? Yeah, let's put cover crops in. And so, what fits our farm? We think we're not far away from finding that answer, but it doesn't fit everyone's farm. I'm 5th generation. I'd love to be able to pass it on to, my kids or my cousin's kids or my brother and sister's kids, I'd love them to get involved. And I don't want to, be blamed as grandpa or uncle decided to do, cut loads of corners and not invest in the future. So, we think we're doing the right thing at the moment. And, that's the most important thing.
So that's a nice segue, because I did want to talk to you about how we bring more new young people into the sector. It's a really common debate. It's a really common topic when we have our exec networking dinners. It seems to be an issue that no one's yet solved. Yes, family generations coming in is part of it, but what's your view on how we try and attract more talent who perhaps don't come from farming backgrounds into this sector?
Yeah, it's a big challenge. Yeah, we're constantly looking for good people. We've got some really good people in our business that actually we're trying to grow, and we're trying to give them more responsibility and kind of coach them through. But that's quite hard for me as well, because I'm not very old either, and I don't know everything. But I've got a good team around me. I've mentor once a month that we just go through and talk about my team and where I want to be and how I can help them get to where they want to be. But bringing people in out of the industry that haven't been brought up around it, that's really difficult to answer, because, as I said, it's a lifestyle and it isn't the best paying, and it's not 9 to 5. But they are out there. People are out there that haven't been brought up at it, but bringing them in is going to be difficult.
Well, hopefully this sort of forum is putting it on the radar of some other people who perhaps haven't thought about it. And Leaf, Linking Environment and Farming, do a good job. There are Open Farm Sundays. There's lots of initiatives out there that are trying to shine a light on this sector, which perhaps people take for granted and don't consider as a career path because they just don't know it exists.
Yeah, exactly. We did Open Farm Sunday this year. We hosted it. We do a lot with Leaf. So we're doing our bit, but I think there's always more we can do to get out there. We're, getting into schools, explaining to them where potatoes come from, how do they grow, explaining to them about all the other crops that, that we do. But we probably as an industry need to take it into our hands and say, look, there isn't the amount of people out there that we need for our industry. We need to do something about it. How are we going to get out there and do it? And it's got to be from, a point of view of people need to understand where the food comes from first. And then, they might show interest a little bit further.
Do you think they do when you go out to schools or you see the Open Farm Sunday attendance? Are these people that are having their eyes really, really opened?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. And we're growing niche crops. So that's the next stage probably for opening their eyes. People have heard about a combine harvester. They've seen pictures of that and things like that. But, how we're growing spinach, how we're harvesting spinach, how we're getting it into the finished pack, it's a bit of a secret to us, but we need to start educating people and talking about it. And, the stuff that we do with the retailers, the stuff we do locally with local schools, but, we're more than happy to get involved in more. I think we should.
Well, it's a nice story, and it's quite a cool thing to look at when you get under the skin of it. And I know you do a lot with video content as well, which is quite nice to put it out there so people can see what goes on behind closed doors.
The whole social media, things like that, that's what everyone outside the business sees. To me, it's what I see every day. And as much as we can get of that, that's really good. Our Instagram has gone quite busy recently, and I've always been chased for pictures of this or a story on this and that. And, that's good, because it's probably working on our reputation as a business, which, we need to do. But also people that follow us that might not really understand things or seeing things as well. So it's good.
Is that the next move for Alex then? The next influencer?
No, probably not. No. You've done well to get me in a shirt today, let alone go influencing. But no, if the guys are happy to do that, then I'm fully support it.
This will play its small part. Thanks for doing it, Alex.
No worries. Cheers.